So when I look at this left side of the equation is written out as the sum or difference of angles identity. And this would be the one for tangent. Because there's a subtraction in the numerator, this is a subtraction of angles. So really, the formula is tangent of alpha minus beta equals tan alpha minus tangent beta over 1 plus tan alpha tan beta. Kind of ran out of room there. But what I can do here is 9 theta is my alpha and 7 theta is my beta. So I'm kind of plugging those back into the formula. So I'm really just finding tangent of 9 theta minus 7 theta. I think my pen width is off. Let's see. That's a little bit better. So we can simplify this. Tangent of 9 theta minus 7 theta, that's just tangent of 2 theta. So I've simplified the left side to be tangent of 2 theta is equal to radical 3. And now then this problem is one similar to the ones we were working on Tuesday. I could treat this as radical 3 over 1. And I don't really like the argument being 2 theta, so I can just do a u substitution. I can say that u is equal to 2 theta. So that means that tangent of u is equal to radical 3 over 1. So because this is positive, that means it has to be in either the first or the third quadrants. And so I'm looking, since tangent is the opposite over the adjacent, I'm looking for the triangle whose opposite side is radical 3 and the adjacent side is 1. So that would be a 60-degree reference angle in both the first and the third quadrant, which means that u is either 60 degrees or u is equal to, and if I rotate 180 plus another 60, that would be 240 degrees. But remember, my problem didn't start in terms of u, it started in terms of theta. So I need to plug into this formula right here to find out what theta needs to be. So if u is 60, that means 60 is equal to 2 theta divided by 2. So theta could be 30 degrees. And then for the same reason, theta could be 120 degrees. So it wants all the answers that are between 0 and 360. So again, normally these answers repeat themselves every pi or every 180 degrees. Because we're in degrees this time. Because the period for tangent is pi, or the period for tangent is 180 degrees. But this time, that period has been multiplied by 2, which means the period for pi would be, or the period for tangent would be pi over 2, or 90 degrees. So that means that these answers are repeating themselves every 90 degrees. So I need to see if I add 90 to 30, that would give me 120. Okay, and then if I add 90 to 120, that's an answer of 210. And if I add 90 to 210, that would be an answer of 300. And if I add 90 to 300, that gives me 390. Well, 390 is not between 0 and 360. So my answer set would be right here, 30, 120, 210, and 300. If it wasn't tangent, we would have to do the same with this answer. But you could see if I added 90 to 120, I would be getting the same answers that I got up here. So there was no point in exploring these solutions because they were already included in this one. So here, this looks like a quadratic equation where I have 2x squared or ax squared plus bx plus c. So I need to get everything to one side. So this would be 2 cosine squared of x minus 3 cosine of x plus 1 equals 0. And so I would think about doing a u substitution here. So this is really 2 times u squared minus 3 times u plus 1 equals 0, because I'm letting u be equal to cosine of x. So this would factor to be a times c. That would be 2u squared minus 2u minus 1u plus 1 equals 0. I'm going to factor by grouping. GCF is 2, which leaves, or 2u, sorry, is GCF. Leaves me with u minus 1. GCF here was negative 1. That's u minus 1. So this factors to be 2u minus 1 times u minus 1 equals 0. So again, I just did the A times C method to factor this. You may can do this just by sight. Some people can factor by sight. You could also use the quadratic formula to find the solutions here for u. But I did it by factoring. So because I have two things multiplied to be 0, either the first thing is 0 or the second thing is 0. So this would tell me 2u equals 1, so u could be a half. Here this is u could be 1. And so now, again, my answer didn't start in terms of u to start with, it was cosine of x. So now I have to substitute back in. So that means cosine of x could be 1/2, or cosine of x could be 1. So if cosine of x equals 1/2, because it's positive, that means that I'm looking in either the first or the fourth quadrants for cosine. And cosine is the adjacent over the hypotenuse. So the adjacent side is 1, the hypotenuse is 2, which means my reference angle here would have to be a 60-degree angle for both of those triangles. So if the reference angle was 60 degrees, in the first quadrant, that's a 60-degree answer. In the fourth quadrant, that's 300 degrees as my answer. And here on the answer set, it wants it in radians, so I'll convert these. So 60 degrees is pi over 3, and 300 degrees would be 5 pi over 3. And those would be my two solutions. I didn't have to do any transformations or moving because the x, or the argument here for cosine, wasn't being multiplied by a number in front. Okay, and this one here is just like the one that I worked for you on Tuesday. I don't remember if it's exactly the same numbers as it was, but it's the exact same process. I need to isolate my trig function, which is sine of 2x. So this would be 2 sine of 2x equals negative radical 3. When I move that over, then I'm dividing by 2. And so that gives me sine of 2x equals negative radical 3 over 2. And then we don't like the argument to be 2 of x, so I'm going to do a u substitution. I'm going to let u be equal to 2x. So this tells me that sine of u is equal to negative radical 3 over 2. Now because that is a negative ratio, sine is negative in the third and the fourth quadrants. And sine is the opposite over the hypotenuse, which means the reference angle is a 60-degree reference angle in both of those quadrants. So that means I rotated either 240 degrees or 300 degrees to get there. But again, this is the answer if it wasn't, if it was u I was looking for. If I'm not looking for u, I'm looking for x. So I have to substitute in. That means that 240, let me fix this, sorry. 240 is equal to 2x. So divide by 2. That means x is 120. And then same thing for 300 divided by 2. So x would be 150. So those are the two angle measures in degrees. Now we need to convert those to radians. So 120 degrees is 2 pi over 3 radians, and 150 degrees is 5 pi over 6 radians. And then we normally add 2k pi when it is sine and cosine, because that's their period. It repeats every 2 pi. But again, this time the period is changed because the argument was being multiplied by 2, which means I need to divide this period by 2. So divide by 2, which means it's going to be plus k pi for both of these.